What's up, guys? It's Christopher DAV, 1D on ECF TV and Aerovapor on YouTube. Today I have the Penelope. This is a tank style rebuildable atomizer, part of the GG family. It holds, they say, around 3 mils. I know I've been putting a really thick juice in it, like a 70 VG blend I've had in it, and it's not quite fitting 3 mils, but either way, the efficiency of the tank is incredible and has been lasting me more than all day on a full tank. The tank cost about 122 bucks, but they have a coupon code where you can get a little bit cheaper at Clouds of Vapor. I ordered it on a Sunday, I want to say, and I got it by Wednesday. So, granted, I live a town over from where they're shipped out, but quick shipping. It wasn't something like a lot of these atomizers where you have to have wait weeks for them to be built or what have you. So I got it quick. Now I was skeptical about this because I have two rebuildable atomizers previously before I got the thank you before I got the Penelope. I had the atomizer from Inhaler and then I had the Phoenix. Now I could get them working and get an okay vape, but I had to fiddle with them a lot. And if, like, for me, if the coil wasn't, or the wick wasn't in the exact right place and the air hole wasn't in the right place, I would get a crappy vape. So I wasn't really completely sold on it. I don't know if you can still see, like, how much the vapor's lingering, but anyway, I got this and was in utter shock the first hit that that I took on it. First of all, never a dry spot ever. And I'm gonna show you how you put it together, and I apologize for the length of it. If you want, you can fast forward. I just wanted to throw together a quick video to show you exactly what comes with it and how you get it put together. But one thing I want to tell you is the mouthpiece doubles as your juice cutoff, your juice feed basically. So at the bottom, like you're gonna see, the bottom of this mouthpiece screws all the way down so you can completely cut off the juice flow. When I get the tank full, what I do is I keep it locked all the way down and I'll start to vape it until it starts to get dry. Not a dry hit, it's not a dry addy hit, but it's that hit where you know you're gonna start getting dry hits. At that point, that's when I start to back off the mouthpiece. So I will, at the point I'm at now, I know about how many turns, where to keep it for it to work perfectly. But until you know, leave it tight after you fill it and vape it. When it starts to get a little bit drier or you're not getting full flavor, open up the mouthpiece a little bit and vape. If you still get, after a little while, you get a little bit of a drier hit, back it up more. You'll eventually figure out the point where to keep it that you never get a gurgle, never get a leak, never get a dry hit. Now, granted, either way, I have yet to get this thing to leak. I have yet to get it to be gurgly. It just wicks perfectly. It's perfect. But you'll get to know about where you need to keep it so you have a perfect juice feed. That's what I do. Keep it all the way down first and then back it off until it gets to the point where it just constantly gives you a perfect flow of juice. And that's really what it does. The sound that it makes is not really loud. It's more of like it's like you ever simmer water, that sound that it makes. It's not gurgly at all, but it's like you could tell that the wick is just perfectly saturated and the juice flow on it is, I just can't say enough about it. It's perfect. You can leave it on its side, tip it over, whatever you do with it. It'll never leak, never get gurgly. The only variable is how open you keep the mouthpiece, and which will vary on, your juice flow. But once you figure out exactly where to keep it, the process is thoughtless and it just works flawlessly. I cannot recommend this thing enough. I was one of those people who thought, you're crazy spending that kind of money on a rebuildable atomizer because, the production that I got out of my others wasn't really great. After having this, I completely understand the insanity of these atomizers and people wanting to get them. One thing I want to show is a size comparison. So this is the Penelope. This is a dual coil smoke tech tank. So lined up against the Penelope, the smoke tech with a regular Delrin drip tip is actually just a slight bit taller than the Penelope, and it is much wider. I know some people saw pictures that I posted of the Penelope and said it looked humongous, but if you compare it to a dual coil tank, it really isn't that big. So works well. This is the first time I used it on the Ego Twist, and it's actually working excellent right now. I've been using it on my Opus, but either way, it's an incredible vape. So that's about all I got. If you care to see it being put together, stay tuned, and I will take it apart, show you everything you get with it, and how to put it together. When you get it, it's going to come with a wire that has resistance coil in the middle and then non-resistance on both sides. You can either purchase those or you can buy resistance and non-resistance wire and make your own. Right now I'm not going to show you how to make that. There's plenty of videos out there. I'll put one in the description, and maybe later I'll show you how you make the resistance with non-resistance wire. But for now, here's a video just on the Penelope being put together and what you get. Okay, so this is what you get when you get the Penelope. You get a length of wick, a coil, which is non-resistant wire on both ends and resistance wire in the middle. You can see two little almost like solder points where the non-resistant wire ends and the resistance wire begins. Maybe you can't see that, it's right here. This is not the one I got with the Penelope, it's another one I have from another atomizer. The difference with this one is the non-resistance wire is short at the end, but yours will have two full lengths at the end of non-resistance. So then you have the bottom of the Penelope, your wick and coil housing, which will eventually go together with the bottom and make your 510 connection. Then you have a ring which will go around your coil housing and make your ground. You have your mouthpiece plus cutoff for your juice. I'll show you how that works in a minute. You have the actual tank with the GG symbol on there, and then the top and O-ring. Before you put this together, I recommend putting a little bit of Vaseline on all of the O-rings just to make sure they stay wet and don't get dried and nasty. So really quick, I already have a wick and coil that I made that's working really well on the Penelope, so I'm still gonna reinstall this. I'll tell you, I do it a little bit different than some people. I actually double the wick under the coil, so I'll take about 2 inches of wick doubled, so 2 inches and 2 inches over each other. I will wrap the coil and then trim the second wick just where above the coil is, so I have double wick just over the coil. That way it still fits in the Penelope well, but I get really good wicking, and so far that's worked really well for me. So what you're going to do is, after you make your coil, you are going to set it into the housing. Okay, so after you set it in there, the part that only has bare metal, that doesn't have ceramic, see how that side has ceramic? That's bare metal. The bare metal side is going to be your ground or your negative. So you want to make sure you trim the negative, this side of the coil, so it does not go below here and end up touching anything else of your positive posts. So trim this side of the coil so it does not come below this point right here. I don't know if you could see that, but I have my wire right in there and ends about right there. So then you are basically going to fold your wicks into this little groove that's on there. Now the other side that has the ceramic cup, that side you are going to unscrew this little bolt down here, unscrew it, and wrap your wire around it. Doesn't matter how many times, 1 or 2 times, as long as you have metal touching metal. After you have it wrapped around there, you are going to screw down that bolt nice and tight. Okay. And then any excess you have, you can wiggle the piece of coil off or trim it so you don't have any extra wires sticking out of there. So then you basically have your coil. Trim your wick. This is how I do it. I keep one, the part that is on the ceramic side, I keep that about the length of the washer down here. And then the other one I trim right up to the edge, which is right there. Now, I've seen on videos that they say your negative side should be on the outside of the coil so it touches this O-ring. I don't do that. I actually tuck it under the wick. I think as long as it's touching this bare metal in here, that's what's important, and I have not had any issues. Now this is the part, you're going to take your little ring here, push your coils down nice and hard into the grooves so that way you're not ripping up your wick when you screw this down. Now there are a lot of threads on this thing, so if it doesn't go on completely smooth, back it up and retry it, because it should go on completely smooth. And if it doesn't, like I said, don't force it, just back it up and re-screw it on. And while you're screwing this down, you're pushing down the wicks into the groove so you don't basically strip your wick and like shred it up. Now how far you push down this nut will depend how far out your positive post comes. So after I get it on there, again, I tuck my wicks in there, and you're going to put it into the bottom piece and screw that on there. Now I make it so the positive post just barely sticks out, and then I screw down the nut all the way to the bottom, which holds your 510 connection in place. Tighten it, tighten it, and then you have a perfect 510 connection with your coil. Now before I put it in the tank, I take juice and I wet the wick a little bit. Next, you're going to take your mouthpiece, which is also your stopper for your juice flow, and screw that down all the way. Next, you take your tank and screw it on again all the way. Now this GG symbol is actually engraved in there pretty deep, so that works as kind of a grip to grip the, the atomizer. Now, make sure your mouthpiece is screwed on tight, and you're basically going to fill around the edges. You could use a syringe if you want. If you have a really thick juice, like this is 100% VG juice, it's a lot easier, 70% VG. It's a lot easier to use a syringe, but okay. Once you have it full, you're going to take your top cap, gently push it down, and slowly, so you don't push juice out. I haven't had that happen, but slowly screw on your top cap. And you're ready to go. So that's what I got. It is the Penelope GG Atomizer. The shine on it is great. It's just awesome. I love the like heavy chromy kind of shine. However, it is a fingerprint magnet, so I find myself constantly wiping it off. The GG emblem is engraved pretty deep in there, which is awesome because it allows for you to get a good grip on it when you're unscrewing and screwing the end caps in. I do recommend make sure you put a little bit of Vaseline on your end caps just to make sure that they don't get dry or end up breaking on you. But that is it. It is the GG Penelope Rebuildable Atomizer. This was my first kind of dive into the more elaborate atomizers, and I am not disappointed that I picked this one. It is easy to put together. I mean, the wick and coil just kind of lays across the little mount, the encasing, and it's just easy to put together. And vapes like nothing I have ever used before. The vapor production, the flavor, and the tones that I get out of juices is just unlike anything else. And that is one last thing that I want to add. Switching juices in this thing is easy, easy, easy. When you go through a tank of juice, it uses every last drop that's in here. So I just take it apart, I rinse out the parts and dry them, and you don't have to change the coil. I rinse the coil. This coil's been going like a week, and it's still getting perfect flavor. So like I went from a lemon menthol vape to at one point, oh, crispy treats I had in here. Testing out a new flavor, a new crispy treat, and there was no linger from the lemon menthol to the crispy treat whatsoever. When I rinsed it out, it was completely gone. So it does not hold the flavors. When you rinse it, it is completely gone. So you don't have to worry about having to change the coil every time you're going to change juice. All you do is rinse it out, and it is perfect as new. That's all I got. It is the Penelope.